On the world news tonight from Baba Bagide Imo Television, first the headlines. Tinubu meets US President Joe Biden, schools Yol and Modi. Tinubu's let the poor breathe comment more important than we think, Tax Committee Chair. UAE lifts visa ban on Nigerians after almost 1 year. Clark reveals why Atiku Obi will likely fail at the Supreme Court. Anxiety in Calabar over alleged disappearance of a male private organ. And on sports, Eagles attack will scare opponent in 2023 AFCON. I am Morire Tribila Lawal. The news shortly. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu yesterday met with the United States President Joe Biden and 3 other major counterparts from Germany, South Korea, and India on economic diplomacy and converse practical next steps in bilateral relations, among others. The meetings held on the sidelines of the G20 summit in New Delhi were an opportunity for Tinubu to increase economic diplomatic relations at the bilateral and multilateral levels. Tinubu departed New Delhi for Nigeria with a stopover in Abu Dhabi. Also held bilateral talks with the United Arab Emirates authorities, especially as regards pending disagreement between the two countries. The president had audience with World Bank and European Commission presidents and equally conversed practical steps in improving bilateral relations with the countries. Hailing the federal government's move to revive Nigeria's ailing economy, Biden also applauded effort by the Economic Community of West African ECOWAS resolve the Nigerian crisis. The release by the presidential spokesperson Ajuri Ngelale explained that Tinubu met with leaders of the 4 nations which had been identified as key partners in his economic development diplomacy, drive for local investment and wealth creation. For the leader of Africa's largest economy, a meeting with the #1 citizens of Europe's best economy, Germany, presented a unique opportunity to expand ties of prosperity for the people of Nigeria, with a pragmatic approach towards ensuring the effective execution of agreements struck. According to the statement, Tinubu said, it is not for us only a matter of designing their financial architecture for an expanded economic partnership. It is also about the practicality of the laying in the perspective of your large-scale manufacturers, such as Volkswagen and others, with the reality of the new incentive by my government is putting in place for them to come and prosper across multiple value chains and sectors inside our economy. Apparently intrigued by the specific economic focus of President's proposal, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz responded by acknowledging the mutually benefited and beneficial nature of an escalation in the scale of economic ties with Africa's largest economy. Scholz told Tinubu, "Thank you for this important discussion. Mr. President, I can appreciate this opportunity to advance our economic relations. Your market is unique and our companies have history in Nigeria. We acknowledge the business-friendly reforms you have put in place. I'm happy to inform you of my desire to visit you in Nigeria in October, which will allow us to carry forward these initiatives." Tinubu accepted the German Chancellor's request to visit Nigeria and proceeded to meet the leader of Asia's 4th largest economy, South Korea. South Korea President Yoon Suk Yeol commended the Nigerian president's regional leadership in democratic tenets and norms. He stated, "We will leave nothing hanging. We will finalize what we agree and to find ways till we execute it. We will work point by point with you to secure rapidly implementable MOUs across sectors of partnership that will involve the active presence of your biggest firms, not just in terms of Nigeria consumption, but in local Nigeria production, from telecommunications to technology, oil and gas." The South Korean president said Nigeria's education, technology, and energy sectors were of utmost interest in South Korea investors. He promised to mobilize South Korea's business community to take advantage of the new Nigerian incentives for local industry. Tinubu concluded formal discussions at the G20 summit with the Asian giant and host nation India, which had visited Nigeria, invited Nigeria to be at the meeting, and he met with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He told the Indian leader there are many lessons our nation can learn from the rapid progress that India has made under your leadership. We see fantastic opportunity between our nations across sectors such as agricultural development, but specifically, there is more we can do to advance ICT innovation and the emergence of the blue chip fintech growth in Africa. Nigeria as the local players, we can drive it from the front. Modi commended the proposal for economic partnership, saying our teams must now stay close in talk to detail our priority areas of upscale cooperation with respect to agriculture, defense, industries, capacity building, and even fintech growth. Shedding more light on the meeting between Tinubu and Biden, the U.S. government in briefing room statement and releases access that stated that during the discussion, Biden hailed Tinubu for the steps taken so far to revive Nigeria's economy since he became president on May 29. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Taiwo Oyedele, on Monday buttressed the popular "let the poor breathe" call of President Tinubu, saying the statement means more than people might think. Oyedele, who was inaugurated in August by Tinubu to air the committee, affirmed the president fumes him during an interview. The president first delivered the now famous face in May during a tour of the presidential villa in Abuja, with the hardship trailing Tinubu's insistence on fuel subsidy removal. The soundbite has since taken a life on its own among Nigerians, while others have asked what exactly the poor would start to breathe. Oyedele, however, reiterated the president's statement, noting that there is little appreciation of the impact of the comment. I think that statement, "let the poor breathe," sometimes people don't appreciate how important it is. Unfortunately, sometimes people say it like it is a joke or just a glitch, but the reality is that things are tough, he said. The tax committee chair added that subsidy removal suggests the majority of people living in poverty are not having it easy, and that the impact of the exchange rate harmonization may be greater than the impact of the withdrawal of fuel subsidy. According to him, when things are hard for the middle class and elite, they cut down on savings and investment, but they still meet their basic needs. For the poorest people, what they have to cut down from is 3 meals. If they are lucky, it's 2. Some were doing 2, so it's down to 1. Some were doing 1, now it is reduced portion. Some will withdraw their kid from school. Some will not be able to get medical treatment. I'm talking about the paracetamol to fight malaria. We remove subsidy from fuel and you would have noticed the traffic is light, Oyedele lamented. He added that the average Nigerian has a difficult time making ends meet, and that those with lower incomes were the ones who found it difficult to use their cars as they once did.
The spending. So we say, one, the quality of spending, the priority of what you are spending the money on, and the efficiency. I would say, for example, if it took us over 10 years and we haven't completed Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, that's not good enough. If you are building flyovers when you don't have clean potable water, you don't have primary schools with covered roof, it's wrong priority. And even when the priority is right, is that the amount you should be spending? So every time I look at the Auditor's General report, it breaks my heart. And some of the studies we have done, even before my current role around the taxpayers' perception, shows that they do not trust government. Nigerians do not trust government, and it's one of the reasons why they don't want to pay taxes. So first and foremost, I even think that those reports should be up to date. We should not be talking about 2017 in 2023. We do not lack accountants. We do not lack the technology. So if we decide today that government accounts, including, just imagine seeing the federal government's balance sheets and the balance sheet for your states, and it's on time, right? I'll say within 3 months after the end of the period, we should have the financial statement of government. In fact, one suggestion that is coming from my committee is, someone said, the Constitution says the President and the Governor should present the budget for the next fiscal year. Why can't we amend the Constitution to say, as you are presenting the budget for the next year, give us the account for the one you just did, so it becomes constitutional? And when you break down those reports from the Auditor General, you'd also see that some of the people who are not complying with paying taxes are the organs and agencies that should be driving tax collection themselves and compliance. So it's tough, and the solution to the problem is never to then say, since we don't like the way they're spending the money, some of them are not compliant, all of us should just not comply.
Let's just be. So
a couple of days ago, Mr. President is out of the country. Our 30 days was 7th of September. So it's in our phase 2 where we're going to be doing a lot of findings. So I don't want to say something that I'm not sure exactly what it is.
Okay. I'm assuming that you want the president to see the report.
Taxes and levies. We think we should have less than 10 single digits. And we think that by having less than 10, that the magic is that the people will actually pay less and government will collect more, because where you get the efficiency from is the collection that sometimes does not go to government today. People are harassed. In fact, someone told us, it was Matan, the market trader association, people said, just selling pure water in the market, they call it ticket. They say you need 7 tickets every single day. Just imagine that. Ticket for what? So
local government tickets.
Yeah, local government.
That is definitely not in the Constitution.
Yeah, it's not in the Constitution, that I can tell you. But they can always find a way to say, well, the Constitution says we could levy taxes on market. So you create different names for them, right? So
for those selling pure water.
Yes, just pure water. So you can imagine if you graduate it to someone who is selling something, much more, expensive than water. And with the NEC, National Economic Council, where we have the governors, and then we'll go beyond that and also interact with the local government. We'll pay some of them a visit so we can understand their perspective. This is not about blaming anyone. This is to say that we have to work together in solving these problems for our country.
Well, that's
and bottlenecks. So, and that speaks to one of the pillars of the presidential committee that I'm sharing, which is really about economic growth facilitation. When you then break it down, we have an aspect of competitiveness and then economic growth. So where we're looking at what are the impediments to trade for everyone. So if you take the ports, there are 1,001 war stories that people can tell you, from the question about importing from China to the ports being a lot cheaper than getting it from the port to somewhere in Ogun State. Not only is it more expensive financially, it takes much longer. And if you have that situation where you then have demurrage, you have a lot of other costs that you can't even account for, then we are then surprised that there is inflation and people can't afford, basic things. So these issues have to be addressed. One way we are looking at it is, we think that many of these agencies would rather not be bothered with this function of trying to collect levies here and there, and they rather focus on their core mandates, which then will mean that they're able to perform their roles better. And then we can use technology or whatever it is to harmonize those collections so it's easier to pay, maybe USSD or whatever it is, multi-channel mode of payment. With receipts you can get electronically on your device, for example. It doesn't have to be a smartphone, by the way. And then that level of efficiency in collection and transparency will give you more revenue that you can use to take care of society. It will take off the burden from the agency so they can focus on their primary mandate. That in itself facilitates economic growth. And altogether, we think this is a fantastic win-win situation for everyone. And this is, we're not seeing anything that it's out of this world or even novel for that matter. It's done everywhere, including countries in Africa and countries outside of Africa. So we, one agency that I would not mention, so private sector people, some of the few meetings I've had, where they had an analysis that shows that this agency was collecting dollars from them, and it was the highest in the world, and they are also planning to increase it. So we're even saying to ourselves, why do we have to pay an agency of government in Nigeria in dollars? We don't have dollars.
The United Arab Emirates, UAE, has lifted the visa ban placed on Nigerian travelers for almost a year. This follows a historic agreement between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President of the United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, today, according to statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngalale. He noted that by easy historic agreement, both Etihad Airlines and Emirates Airlines are to immediately resume flight schedules into and outside Nigeria. The statement also added, as negotiated between the two heads of state, the restoration of flight activities does not involve any immediate payment by the Nigerian government. President Bola Tinubu, during a meeting with the President of United Arab Emirates, Mohammed bin Zayed, on Monday, presidency in recognition of the meeting, economic development, diplomacy drive and proposals today presented by President Tinubu to his counterpart, an agreed framework has been established, which will involve several billions of US dollars worth of new investment into the Nigerian economy across multiple sectors, including defense, agriculture, and others by the investment arms of the government of the United Arab Emirates. Additionally, President Tinubu is pleased to have successfully negotiated a joint new foreign exchange liquidity program between the two governments, which will be announced in details in the coming weeks. Tinubu commended the UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed for his unalloyed friendship and his determined effort to join hands with him to fully normalize and reset to excellence the standard of relations between the two important countries. Moving on to the next story. A senior advocate of Nigeria, SAN, Robert Clark, has submitted that the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, and his Labour Party, LP, counterpart Peter Obi, will likely come back empty-handed from the Supreme Court in their attempt to overturn the tribunal's ruling on the outcome of the 2023 presidential election. Speaking on Sunday, the senior lawyer observed that the unanimous tribunal judgment, which affirmed the victory of President Bola Tinubu, is as fixed as anything. According to him, the tribunal's judgment was detailed and thorough, and the Supreme Court had already ruled on almost all the issues raised by the petitioners. Information recalls that the Presidential Election Petition Court had on Wednesday, September 6, unanimously dismissed the suits by Obi and Atiku and affirmed the electoral victory of the All Progressive Congress (APC) and its candidates Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima in the February 25, 2023 presidential poll. However, both Obi and Atiku, in separate reactions, rejected the verdict of the tribunal and vowed to challenge it at the Supreme Court. But speaking on the move, Clark, during his appearance, was of the opinion that the matter does not need to go to the apex court. There have been several reports of the disappearance of male reproductive organ in the part of Calabar. This is causing apprehension and anxiety in the city. In the past 2 weeks, there have been several cases of male organs disappearing by some male residents at handshake or body contact with strangers. Over 10 cases are said to have taken place, with some organs being returned to the victims by perpetrators, while some are said not to be restored. An organ was said to be sold for 600,000 naira last week, but owing to market forces and high demand, the price has gone up to 1 million naira per organ. Jibuke, spare parts dealer, informed. He said the organs are used for ritual purposes to make more money and more people fall victim if nothing drastic is not done by the authorities to stop the ugly state of events in the city. People now put bitter cola in their pocket or hold their private organ tightly while walking on the streets or in the commercial hall. Cases of organ disappearance are said to have occurred at Atimbo, Epo Abasi, 8 Miles, Worth Market, Atepa Street, and some other places in the city. It happened in my area, State Avenue by African this morning. Someone lost his penis and it also severe beating of the snatcher before he returned the organ, Blessed Ingi, a resident of Calabar South, said. The Cross River Police Command spokesperson Miss Irene Ugo said there is nothing as such thing as selling in the private part in the city. Have you seen anyone with it? Bring it on, says the spokesperson of the police command in the states. Moving on to Kaduna. The Kaduna State Police Command says it has killed 4 suspected kidnappers and arrested 13 others during the sting operations in different parts of the state. Disclosing these while parading the suspect, the acting public relations officer of the command, ASP Manuel Hassan, told journalists that the suspected kidnappers were killed during gun battle in different locations in Kaduna State, while the arrests were based on intelligence reports about the suspect nefarious activities. According to the police spokesman, among the suspects is one Awal Saidu, a private security guard, who allegedly masterminded the abduction of his boss from his residence and later collected the sum of 10 million naira before he and his gang members released the victim. Some of the items recovered from the suspect included 2 AK-47 rifles, 3 locally made revolver, 2 motorcycles, and 15 live cartridges, as well as bags of marijuana. The police spokesman noted that all the arrested suspects will be charged in court upon the conclusion of its investigation. Moving on to the next story. Nigeria's first indigenous chartered accountant, Akintola Williams, is dead. The Doyen of accounting died at the age of 104. According to a source who does not want to be mentioned, Williams died at his house in Lagos today. The graduate of accounting at the University of London was born in 1919. He went to Yaba Higher College on a UAC scholarship, obtaining a diploma in commerce. In 1944, he traveled to England where he studied at the University of London. Studying banking and finance, he graduated in 1946 with a Bachelor of Commerce. He continued his studies and qualified as a chartered accountant in England in 1949. In 1952, he founded the first indigenous chartered accountant firm in Africa, Akintola Williams & Co. in Lagos. He was a founding member and first president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Williams played a leading role in establishing the Association of Accountants in Nigeria in 1960, with the goal of training accountants. He was the first president of the association. Also, he played an invaluable role in the establishment of Nigeria's stock exchange. He was honored with the Order of the Federal Republic of Nigeria government in 1982. In April 1997, Queen Elizabeth also honored him with the title of Commander of the British Empire. Rest in peace. Adieu. And to the next story. No fewer than 399 pieces of improvised explosive devices were recovered by operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency from 1 Ashanoleke 39 along Mokwa Jeba Road on Thursday, September 7th. The suspect, who said the explosives were handed to him at the park in Ibadan, Oyo State, to be delivered to someone in Kaduna, had since, alongside the exhibit, been transferred to the military authorities in Niger State. Apart from the various drug control efforts, the NDLEA State Command and other formations also continued the anti-narcotics agency war against drug abuse advocacy campaign in the schools, workplaces, palaces, and local communities, among others. The spokesperson for the NDLEA, Femi Babafemi, made the development known on Sunday in an official email. He also noted that NDLEA operative intercepted consignment of skunk concealed in tomato paste and methamphetamine hidden in used cloth meant for export to Dubai, the United Arab Emirates. While the skunk in tomato paste consignment weighing 20 kgs was intercepted on Friday, September 8 at the Sako export shed of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja. The met shipment, with a gross weight of 1.60 kg, was seized at the courier company in Lagos. Another consignment of 556 grams of Canadian loud sent from Canada to one Tunji Adebayo in Ikorodu, Lagos, was also intercepted by NDLEA officers of the Directorate of Operations and General Investigation attached to the courier firms. Though Adebayo was not home when operative visited his house at 52 Aino Atole Street, Ikorodu, he however directed his younger brother to sign for the package on his behalf. The brother was promptly arrested, Wafemi said. Meanwhile, NDLEA operatives on Monday, September 4th, raided the enclave of notorious drug lord in Akala, Mushin, Lagos. Abdul Raouf, aka Nagod, where 1,101 kgs of Ghanaian loud was recovered and 3 suspected arrested, while the wanted kingpins remains at large. In Ogun State, a follow-up operation led to the arrest of Yinka Aziz at Sabo Lafenwa, Abeokuta on Tuesday, September 5th, following the seizure of 41 kgs of cannabis from Titilayo Aditayo at Shagamu interchange the previous day. Also, at least 2 suspects, Muhammad Aliyu, 38, and Abdullah Zakariya, 40, were arrested in Zaria Kanu Road and Aye Arewa Otoro Kanu, respectively, with over 426.5 kilograms of skunk on Tuesday, September 5th, while Onyeka Uzo, 25, was arrested at Indemili, Anambra State, with 64.8 kilograms skunk and tramadol. Another suspect, Destiny Irabo, was nabbed on Friday, September 8, with over 180 kgs of opioids loaded in his Toyota Sienna balls. In Kaduna, two suspects, Ahmed Yusuf and Rilwan Nura, were arrested on Wednesday, September 6, in connection with the seizure of 100 blocks of cannabis weighing 55 kgs along Abuja Road. In Edo State, NDLEA operatives stormed the Ecuador forest in Ongunde, local government area, where they destroyed cannabis farms measuring 4,000 plot hectares. From that story, we go to the foreign story. A Royal Navy warship, HMS Strength, on Sunday arrived in Lagos, Nigeria. This is Strength's second visit to Nigeria as part of its regional mission to aid allies and partners in driving down illegal activities, including piracy and illicit trafficking. According to a statement from the British High Commission, the visit would help deliver capacity training and support maritime security in the region. The Commission said the HMS Strength departed Gilbreth carrying about an expert boarding team of UK Royal Marines and a Puma surveillance drone, adding that the HMS Strength's mission is to support West African allies, helping countries to develop the capability to fight crimes at sea and ensure they can play an effective role in bringing stability to wider West Africa. Finally, on sports. Former Kwara United coach Samson Unale has revealed that the Super Eagles' possessions weren't of the strongest attacking going into the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. Recall that Nigeria wrapped up the qualifiers with a comfortable 6-0 victory against Sao Tome and Principe at the Nest of Champions, Uyo Akwa Ibom State on Sunday. A hat-trick from Napoli striker Victor Osimhen and a goal each from Ademola Lookman, Taiwo Awoniyi and substitute Samuel Chukwueze ensured the team finished top of Group A ahead of Guinea-Bissau. However, the coach in an interview stated that team strikers such as Victor Osimhen, Taiwo Awoniyi, Victor Boniface and Cyril Desert, Terry Murphy and others will scare opponents at the biannual tournament. There is no doubt that the Super Eagles is blessed with an array of strikers that can cause any team in Africa a serious nightmare. Players like Osimhen, Boniface, Awoniyi, Desert, Murphy are capable of scoring goals and also lead the team to glory at the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. The team signaled victory over Sao Tome in addition, indication of what is to come at the tournament proper in Cote d'Ivoire. We've come to the end of today's world news from Babagede Imo Television. Before we go, some headlines. Tinubu meets US President Joe Biden, Yoel Modi. Tinubu's "let the poor breath" comment more important than we think, Tax Committee Chair. UAE lifts visa ban on Nigerians after almost 1 year. Clark reveals why Atiku Peter Obi will likely fail at the Supreme Court. Anxiety in Calabar over alleged disappearance of male private organs. And on sports, Eagles attack will scare opponents in the coming Nations Cup. For more updates of our broadcast on YouTube, our handle is Babagede Imo Television. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell, select option all to access all of our broadcasts. On Facebook, Bagede Imo with Alawide Adebayo. Please like and follow the page. For other placement of goods and services, coverage of events and functions, please dial the phone number streaming on the screen. Thank you for watching. I am Morire Rabila Lawal. Good evening.